Another big win for the Tampa Bay Lightning as they get to their first 7-game win streak in 5 years. We go over just how big this win was before the Lightning start off March and preview February's Bolt of the Month on today's episode of Locked On Lightning.
You're Locked On Lightning, your daily podcast on the Tampa Bay Lightning, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Josh Sperber welcoming all of you into another episode of Locked On Lightning and thanking you all for making Locked On Lightning your first listen every day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And if your team is the Tampa Bay Lightning, then this is the show for you. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, because right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. And if you bet on the Tampa Bay Lightning last night against the Calgary Flames, you might be a winner. The Lightning got Andrei Vasilevskiy's 4th shutout of the season and the team's 5th, as Jonas Johansson also has added a shutout for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And coming off of a game that so many different pundits, watching the game on the FanDuel Sports Network, they're saying that the Oilers game was their best defensive game. They mentioned that in the pregame show. John Cooper spoke about how strong the Lightning defense was after the Oilers game and said that it was one of, if not the best, performances that the Lightning have had this year defensively and overall. And the Lightning might have just topped that against the Calgary Flames. The Flames did outshoot the Bolts 27-22, but Andrei Vasilevskiy continued his incredible run of play. The Lightning stonewalled the Flames on 3 different power plays. And despite the fact that the Flames really controlled the possession time, the Lightning seemed to just be in control of the game for the entirety of it. Brandon Hagel extended his point streak to 7 straight games. John Cooper now up to win number 559, 3rd most with a single franchise in NHL history. And I think the coaching certainly helped, because you always want to control the pace, control the tempo of the game. And the Flames didn't really do that. Even if they controlled the possession, the Lightning were still the ones that really looked like they were in charge in this battle that was between 2 of the fastest teams in the league. And the Lightning defense showed their teeth once again and just continued to disrupt whatever Calgary had going on. It didn't seem like there were a lot of really clean shots. It didn't seem like there were a lot of really home run, great chances created for the Calgary Flames, partly because Andrei Vasilevskiy just made it look so easy in the net, but also because the defense just did everything that you'd hope for them to do. The forwards on both sides of the ice were making checks. They were trying to pry the puck from the sticks of the Flames, wherever it was. I think especially that second line for the Bolts, Cirelli, Girgensons, and Hagel. I just really liked watching what they were doing checking-wise and then breaking out. Especially with the quickness of Cirelli and Hagel. Girgensons can get pulled into a fight in the corner, as he did late in that 3rd period, and almost ended up with another goal. I think the Lightning hit a couple of posts before the puck ultimately fell out of the net in front of Wolf. But, they did a really good job of just being aware of where the puck was and aware of where they needed to be afterwards. It just made that transition play for the Lightning so much smoother. And something that we're going to talk about more when we discuss some of the Bolts of the Month nominees is how much better the Lightning's offensive pressure has been coming from the defense. They're getting Ryan McDonough, Eric Chernak, guys who aren't typically involved in the goal-scoring parts of the offensive possession. Those guys are getting big chances in front of the net and multiple points over the course of the month. Chernak's goal against Calgary in that second period, it was after Cirelli started the breakaway. It was a 2-on-1, Hagel and Chernak. And Chernak just finished the job, almost looking like a forward. But he's a guy who doesn't usually get involved in that part of the chance. He's usually one of the first couple of passes, and kind of takes his time. If he needs to get a shot, if he has an open look, obviously he's going to take it. He's a smart player and a darn good defenseman, but he's not very offensive minded. And it's not every day that you see a defensive minded defenseman play in kind of a more offensive roles, because that's just the space that's available to the Lightning. And some of it is just adaptability, which obviously Chernak and the rest of the Lightning D-men have, but it's also, just hockey smarts. And the Lightning were able to really mix up the looks against Calgary and free up different people at different times, just giving them a lot of versatility in their continued threat against the Flames. Just 22 shots on net for the Lightning. Only in the first period did they equal the Flames in terms of shot output. So it was Calgary technically getting more of the chances, but again, the Lightning just cashed in. And I think this is starting to be a little bit of payback for that month of January, where it seemed like the Lightning missed out on goals by just about every trick in the book. It was a deflection off of the very tip of someone's skate here, off the knob end of the stick there. I mean, it was just one thing and another that kept the pucks from going in the net over the first month of the year. And now in February, the Lightning haven't lost in regulation. Overtime loss to New York, the Islanders, at home in the first game of the month. After that, win. Just dominance from the Lightning in the rest of the month, and this game was no exception. And it's honestly difficult to say which game is technically the best. I mean, you're playing a stronger opponent in Edmonton like the Lightning did on Tuesday rather than Calgary last night, but a shutout or a 4-1 win, which looks a lot better. And this was really 2-0 if you don't include that empty net goal from Hagel at the 2:50 mark in the third period. So I think all around wise, maybe the Lightning played a little bit better offensively against Edmonton, but regardless, I mean, these are two playoff caliber teams that the Lightning absolutely handled on almost back-to-back nights. The Flames currently in fifth, a point behind the Vancouver Canucks in the Pacific Division. And the Oilers second in that division to the Las Vegas Golden Knights. Meanwhile, the Tampa Bay Lightning gained 1 point of ground on the Florida Panthers, but the Panthers got their 2 points in a nail-biting win against Edmonton. Keep in mind, Monday, Lightning Panthers. Of course, another game to preview before that, but that is certainly something that the Lightning are going to have on their minds regardless of the Capitals game this weekend and regardless of the hot streak and all the other good things that have been going on for the Tampa Bay Lightning. As I mentioned earlier, first time in 5 years that the Lightning have sported a win streak of 7 games or longer. And they're playing their best stretch of the season. We can talk about which games over the course of the last 7 or over the course of the season as a whole has been the Lightning's best game, which game they had a game on offense, defense, all around, whatever it was. But no matter how you slice it, this was the best month of the season in the month of February for the Tampa Bay Lightning. 7 wins in a row after an overtime loss opened the month, including the first 4 games of this win streak, all coming against Atlantic Division teams, catapulting the Lightning from 5th to 3rd in that Atlantic Division. I mean, it just doesn't get much better than that. The Lightning had as close to a perfect month as just about anyone has. Meanwhile, they have the second longest win streak in the NHL this season with their 7th straight win. The Winnipeg Jets entered Friday on an 11-game win streak. The Lightning with a couple of big games and obviously some key players factored in some big moments over the course of those games for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Who do you think was the bolt of the month for Tampa Bay in their best month of the season? We have 4 nominees, some familiar faces, and one name that may surprise you. Coming up next, Bolt of the Month nominees. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there is no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game. Even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a third period comeback, you can stay in on the action. And if you're looking for a bigger playout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether I'm backing the Lightning for a late game rally or picking a basketball player to hit a clutch 3, the app is easy to use, and I never feel like I missed my chance. And when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So, 4 new nominees for the Bolt of the Month for the Tampa Bay Lightning. First, and maybe the most obvious, we're going to start with the goalie, Andrei Vasilevskiy, Brandon Hagel, Nikita Kucherov, and then a bit of a surprise with a goal against the Flames boasting his numbers. Erik Cernak is our 4th Bolt of the Month nominee for February. And we're going to start with Cernak. I think really you could have picked any Lightning defenseman. And honestly, when I was going through my selections for the Bolt of the Month nominees, I was pretty torn between Hedman and Cernak and Ryan McDonagh. And until Cernak scored that goal, I was leaning towards Victor Hedman because he's a guy who consistently leads the Lightning and consistently led Team Sweden in the Four Nations face-off in time on ice. But it's the offensive play for Cernak that especially impressed me in the month of February because as I was mentioning in that first segment, he's not a guy who typically leads the way on offense for the Lightning. He's someone who might be involved in getting the puck up the ice, but over the course of the season, Cernak now with 3 goals as he hit his 3rd goal of the month and year in the game against the Flames, as well as 13 assists to go for 16 points. That's 11th, or now 10th on the Lightning, surpassing Mitchell Chaffee, and 4th among Lightning defensemen. The goal scoring, especially in the month of February, I think is what made the final decision for me because Cernak did not have a goal, and rarely you'd see him with a shot on goal. You know, I think once a game you'll see Cernak take a slap shot one time during a long, drawn-out offensive possession, but he's not a guy you usually see putting pucks on net. And he was able to put himself in positions to get assists and get goals at key times and tied himself with Victor Hedman for the Lightning team lead in points over the month of February with 3 goals and 3 assists. He led all Lightning defensemen in goals and was second in assists and points to Victor Hedman, as Hedman actually was credited with an assist on Brandon Hagel's empty net goal. So the offensive output from a very defensive-minded defenseman lands him his first Bolt of the Month nomination. Certainly not the case for any other of these 3, so let's get cracking. Starting with Andrei Vasilevskiy, who certainly can owe some of his success to the best defensive overall month of the season by the Lightning, but you cannot discount what Vasilevskiy meant to the Lightning over the course of this winning streak. He didn't allow more than 3 goals in a game, with just 2 goals allowed over the last 3 games. after allowing 3 goals in the loss against the Islanders, in the first game against the Senators, and then the 2 games on the road. So in the month of February, Andrei Vasilevskiy has allowed just 8 or 9 goals at home in 7 games. And that is not easy to do in any stretch of time. Vasilevskiy, just a truly dominant performance. And I really think that the Lightning certainly wouldn't be where they are without him. He is one of the best goaltenders in the entire NHL. And I think that, he certainly could get the Bolt of the Month nomination. This is definitely his best month of the season, as Vasilevskiy started in all 8 games for the Bolts in December and did not lose a single contest in regulation. Overtime loss to the Islanders at the start of the month. After that, 7 straight wins in regulation, and Vasilevskiy with a dominant performance in each and every one of them. And of course, Brandon Hagel, I think, might be the most central player for the Lightning in the entire month of February. 2 game-winning goals is the most on a team. He led the team with 6 goals and 6 assists, which were second to Nikita Kucherov in the month, but he led the way with 6 points. With 12 points in the month of February. Actually, with the empty net, I keep not thinking about the empty net goal. 7 goals, 6 assists for Hagel in February, and 13 points. So he led the Lightning in goals and points over the month of February. Only shorthanded goal of the month as well. Those 2 game winners. He was the only Lightning player with multiple game-winning goals in the month of February as well. And I'm pretty torn between him and Vasilevskiy in my pick for both of the Bolts of the month. I do have a pretty heavy favoritism towards goalies. I'm not gonna ignore that fact. But what Brandon Hagel has done on both sides of the puck this season has just been incredible. Absolutely incredible. Defensively, he's been amazing. And he finished February with a point in each of the 7 games of the win streak. So just having a guy, especially with the energy and excitement that Hagel can bring, get a point in every game of a win streak is great. And he is now 1 goal away from his second ever 30-goal season, as the empty net goal was the 29th on the year in Hagel's first full season with the Lightning in 2002 and 23. He had 30 goals exactly. He is prepared to destroy that mark and maybe even top 40. And another strong month like this, we could see it happen sooner rather than later. And the mainstay on the Lightning's Bolt of the Month list, Nikita Kucherov. And the Lightning offense just runs through him. He had the most power play points over the month of February with 4. Also had 1 game-winning goal and 11 points in 7 of 8 February games. He did miss that contest against the Canadiens. And, that game was a case of the rest of the Bolts standing up, but Nikita Kucherov continues to show why he's one of the best, if not the best, players in the entire world. I think the 4 nations right now might give a little bit more of that to Connor McDavid. That's just a stage that he was on that Kucherov wasn't, but the Lightning would not be at this level of success without him. I think Kucherov, Vasilevskiy, and Hagel are probably the 3 most central players to the Lightning's success over the course of this season. And the Lightning offense revolves around Nikita Kucherov. Whenever they're putting something on the net, it seems like he is somehow involved. And even if you look at the goal against the Flames on the power play, which just deflected in off Mackenzie Weegar, kind of looked accidental, but it still started because Kucherov sent the puck into a dangerous area. Gensel was there with Weegar right on him. Kucherov thought he could find Gensel, and he can. He can pick out passes, and as Braden Point said early in the year, even if you don't know that you're open with Kucherov. I'm paraphrasing, but he can always find the pass. This time it ended up deflecting off of Uyghur's skate. And that might seem just like a lucky goal. But A, we'll take it. B, that still doesn't happen without a great player making a smart pass into a high traffic area. Because that close to the net, Uyghur and Gensel were a matter of inches from the top of the crease. Kucherov knew that, so he sent the pass there, knowing that in that area of the ice, one little mistake by the defenseman, by the goalie, one little accidental touch of the puck on someone's stick or the right part of whatever, it can end up in the net. And it might not be the prettiest goal Kucherov has ever scored, but it still counts the same. And Kucherov is always sending the puck expertly into dangerous areas for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And it consistently helps the Bolts win games, as it did against the Panthers, with Cooch getting the opening goal at the end of the first. The Lightning with another game to start the month of March. The 4 Bolts of the month certain to factor into that one. And they're going against maybe the best team in the Eastern Conference that is coming off of a loss. We preview the Lightning and Capitals Saturday afternoon affair next. If you're like me, your mornings have to start with a good cup of coffee. But I got tired of settling for grocery store brands that just weren't cutting it. That's why I turned to Trade, and let me tell you, their coffee is next level. Trade is the #1 specialty coffee marketplace in the United States, bringing you fresh coffee from over 50 of America's top roasters. Trade's experts have taste tested thousands of coffees, curating over 450 amazing roasts. Whether you're new to coffee or know exactly what you like, Trade will pick the perfect match for you. I took their quick quiz, and in under a minute, they matched me with a roast that was fresh, smelled incredible, and tasted even better. My first bag was a game changer. I smelled it coming out of the mailbox, and it had such a smooth, rich flavor when I finally made the cup that I could actually taste the difference from my usual coffee. And the subscription makes it so easy. No more last-minute grocery store runs or settling for whatever is on the shelf. And if you don't love your first bag, no worries. Trade will replace it for free until they get it just right. And right now, Trade is offering exclusively 40% off to all of our listeners off of your first order at drinktrade.com/LockedOnNHL. That's 40% off all of our listeners off your first order. DrinkTrade, trade.com/LockedOnNHL. The link is below, drinktrade.com/LockedOnNHL. And you go there, get 40% off your first order at drinktrade.com/LockedOnNHL. February 1st, the Lightning lost their last game. Now, the Lightning start March 1st with a date against the Washington Capitals. Despite a 1-goal loss to the St. Louis Blues, the Capitals are still well clear of anybody else in the Metropolitan Division, and even at certain points in the month of February, the Capitals have overtaken the Winnipeg Jets for the best record in the league. But this is a Capitals team that the Lightning have played incredibly well over the course of the season, with the Capitals getting their first shutout of the year, Andrei Vasilevsky in goal, getting 32 saves and a 3-0 win against the Capitals, limiting Ovechkin to just 2 shots in the victory, despite being outshot by 11. The second game, a little bit different. Charlie Lindgren gave the Lightning a 4-3 lead late in the third period. After that, 2 quick ones from the Capitals pulled them ahead for good. It did count as a Braden Point hat trick, as he was the last one to touch the puck before Lindgren passed the puck into his own net. But that was a game that the Capitals were controlling for most of it, and frankly, helped the Lightning get in on the game. But now, it's a very different time of the season. And Tampa Bay Lightning might be the hottest team in the NHL right now, as the Predators played a tough one against Winnipeg last night. The Lightning, with the longest win streak in the Eastern Conference at 7 straight games. and they're going up against a team that they have seen before and played well against. But on the flip side, the Capitals also playing their best hockey right now. And Alex Ovechkin has come back from injury with a vengeance, getting back on the great chase, chasing the great one, Wayne Gretzky, recording another 30-goal season, and now sits 12 goals away from the all-time goal-scoring record. And I think first thing first is going to be the face-off percentage. Washington has won the face-offs in both games against the Tampa Bay Lightning, but I'm thinking especially when you are going up against a team that is on fire right now. The Capitals, by the way, 0.1% below the Lightning in face-off percentage over the course of this season, but won 58 and 63% of face-offs in the two games that these two teams have played against each other. This one being the season series finale. You're going to want to win those face-offs and get control of the possession early on. You don't want the Capitals to get possession, set Ovi up in his office at home, and start rolling, because if that happens, the game can get out of hand quickly. But the Lightning have played great defensively. I think either way they can recover, but I think trying to get the face-off battle this time around might be a good start. And, that left side of the ice, I think, is going to be crucial. I like the way that the Lightning changed up their defensive lines. They had the second line with Hagel and Cirelli in typically whenever Connor McDavid was in. For Cirelli, maybe the Lightning's best one-on-one defender, guarding Connor McDavid. The Lightning used a combination of people on Ovechkin the last time the Capitals visited Amalie Arena, but I'd honestly like to see a lot more of those physical guys shadowing him. Mitchell Chaffee was someone who was on Ovechkin a decent bit. I'd like to see a lot of Brandon Hagel. You've got two guys at the top of their game over the course of this season right now, when Hagel and Ovechkin match him up. Hagel's speed can certainly frustrate a vet like Ovechkin, and I think matching them up one-on-one would do nothing but help the Lightning limit maybe the greatest player to ever play hockey, and certainly, in my opinion at least, the greatest scorer in the game in Alex Ovechkin. But I think limiting Ovi on that left side is going to be key. And of course, you can't rely on the defense, but the defense have to put up another solid showing. Vasilevsky is on fire in the net right now. He should be in on Saturday, as it is not a back-to-back. The Lightning will have the threat of a back-to-back coming up in March, as they play Tuesday, one day after a Monday date with the Panthers in Sunrise. So we might not see Vasilevsky at home on Tuesday, the 4th of March, when the Bolts take on the Blue Jackets. But obviously, I think it's expected that we'll see him in net against Washington, and that can do nothing but help the Tampa Bay Lightning. I mean, Vasilevsky is going to be a Vezina finalist this year. And I think Hellebuyck might have that race locked up, but Vasilevsky, you look in the goalie stat categories, he's top 5, top 10 in just about everything. Nikita Kucherov said at the beginning of the year, closer to the halfway point of the year, before Four Nations, Kucherov said that Vasilevsky has been the best player for the Lightning this season, and that was in January. That still holds true today. I think, as good as Hagel has been, as good as Kucherov continues to be, as good as Point has been. I mean, we can go down the list of individual players that have played a huge role in the Lightning season. But the fact is, the Lightning made some mistakes at the beginning of the year defensively. They started off the year a little bit inconsistent, and the more that they have picked themselves up at the team, right at the back of them was an absolute ace goaltender. And any successful team has a goalie playing out of his mind, or just a goalie at the top of his game, or in Vasilevsky's case, at the top of the game. As I think there are a very small number of goaltenders that you can compare with Andrei Vasilevsky. But, you never know. The Capitals do have one of the best offenses in the league right now. They're on an absolute roll. It's certainly going to be a tough one, and the Bolts have not played as well on the road. Away from Amalie Arena, the Lightning are 13-13-2, so including overtime, they're under 500. Meanwhile, the Capitals 18-6-6 at home. But despite the fact that they are up big on the rest of the Metropolitan Division, they have now lost their last 2 games, including a 5-2 loss to St. Louis last night. It's certainly going to be a close one. If you have predictions or just any thoughts about it, feel free to put it in the comments below or message us on X at @LO_Lightning. Until then, I want to thank all of you for tuning in once again and making Locked On Lightning your first listen every day. Now, for your second listen, make sure to check out the Locked On NHL podcast, bringing you the daily league-wide stories that matter with the local coverage that you love from Locked On. Find Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts, and the same is true for this podcast. So find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever, and please give us a like, subscribe, and a follow. We really appreciate the support from our listeners. We do the show, of course, for you guys, so thank you again, once again, for watching, and go Bolts. Have a great weekend, everybody.